Welcome back to Wake Up America. Now this Sunday is National K9Veterans Day. It recognizes the extraordinary contributions of canines who served in the military. Now to talk more about these special dogs, let's bring in Mike Sarraille, founder and CEO of Talent War Group, and retired U.S. Navy and Amazon best-selling author Billy Clark. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, Billy, you joined the military requesting to be a canine handler. Why was that?
You know, growing up as a kid, just like, a lot of us in this area, is that I had a pretty rough childhood. And when I did have those days where it was pretty hard and unbearable times, I would always revert to go into our family pets. And I established a relationship with animals at a young age. And I truly felt that that bond was something that I wanted to continue to have for the rest of my life or career.
Now, obviously, the bond between humans and canines has always been very special, and the bond between a military service canine and their handler is on another level. Now, I personally worked with No Dog Gets Left Behind, where they reunited soldiers with the dogs that they had to leave overseas. I've seen it, on a first-level basis, to see the reunion between that dog and the soldier. Mike, personally, what's the bond like for you?
Well, first off, for anyone celebrating this day, if you're not celebrating this day, I doubt you as a human being who doesn't love dogs. But these dogs, make no mistake about it, were our furry, four-legged brothers and sisters in arms. And they brought a capability, and quite frankly, they saved lives on almost a nightly basis or prevented disaster from happening. So beyond that, they brought a light to the camps in Afghanistan or Iraq. We always loved having them around, and that bond is no different than the bond that Billy and I have from serving in battle together.
Yeah, it is. It's such it's an unexplainable bond for sure. Billy, you've said that you can actually read the dog's ears, tail, nose, body language during battle. Tell us what that's like.
It's difficult with all of the things going on around you, whether there's, close air support coming in or you're in a pretty bad gunfight and stuff like that. You still have to focus on the animal and watch his ears and watch his tail and watch his body language to be able to determine whether or not he is finding something that we may not have eyes on, whether that's a hidden enemy personnel with a gun or an IED or anything in that aspect. So it takes a while to learn to be able to do that. And that's part of that bond that you have with that animals. You almost share one mind, and to be able to have that happen in a situation where, there's so many things going on around you and so many variables, and still being able to read the animals, pretty special. So it's definitely something that comes with time.
Now, Mike, I want your input kind of on that same question. How do these canines really help your mission succeed?
I think Billy just hit it. They have a capability that we don't have, and they can detect enemy from far away where humans cannot. And we employed them as a team member. And quite frankly, sometimes they were the first team members to go into buildings, to clear the buildings before we entered. So the service of these dogs was absolutely selfless. And I have to say, these dogs operate as team members. And Billy, as a handler, this day is very much about Billy and the rest of the handlers in the military that built those bonds and unfortunately sometimes lost dogs in harm's way.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Billy, we've learned you've worked with 5 dogs in your career. Recently, saving your dog. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I worked with 5 dogs on the special operations side, but in 2007, it was a pretty cold night. It was in the winter in December. We ended up hitting a high-level target, and we got in a really intense gunfight. And we were surrounded by enemy personnel on almost all sides. And my dog had found 8 hidden enemy that night that we did not have eyes on as well. So he saved a lot of our lives in that aspect as well. And then on the final time that he went in to go find a guy that was hidden, there was so much going on around us within the initial engagement that he ended up receiving a gunshot wound to the head that entered underneath the left eye and then bounced up and severed his optic nerve and came out of his skull. So during that firefight, I couldn't stand to see him there, and the loyalty really came through because I was trying to get him to come to me, and he was struggling with all of his might to get to me, but he just couldn't make it. So I ended up having to go out there with guys like Mike by my side and giving me good cover fire so I could pick him up and get to him and start triage right away.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Now, just listening to your stories and seeing the photos and the video, it's obvious these canines, they are heroes. So how, Mike, can we honor these canines and the heroes that they are?
Well, canines aren't relegated to just military service as well. As we know, they're with first responders. So if you're passing by a police officer, that's a canine unit. I would suggest not getting close to the dog, but just simply say a thank you to the police officers and the canine as well.
Yeah, Billy, I think Mike brings up a good point too, because especially with kids, not to necessarily get close to these dogs because they're trained, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So you definitely need to know what you have next to you. Standing next to you may look all nice and furry and happy, but at the same time, that dog is used as a tool and as a weapon in time of war. So you definitely need to be aware of your surroundings when you're walking around with an animal like that that's highly trained, especially at the level that we work dogs. So.
Exactly right. Well, Mike Sarraille and Billy Clark, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Much more.